Welcome everyone, this is Red Robot and I'll be your host for today's episode of Terrible Tactics. Now today we're going to be looking at a kind of a weird combo I've tried out. It's a little bit obvious but I don't see anyone using it, so I figured I'd better talk about it. It's pretty similar to one I've done before with the shortstop and Kritzkrieg. Basically it's the cola stop, so using the Criticola with the shortstop. And this works together for a variety of reasons. First of all, the shortstop's low damage is nicely supplemented by the mini crits, but that's not actually the main reason why I love this loadout so much. It's more that the mini crits ignore damage fall off. Because the shortstop has such a tight spread, you're able to get some decent damage at enemies at quite a little distance away. At the start, where I managed to pick off that medic while he was still in spawn, popping his Kritzkrieg, which would have been pretty annoying. Like, I doubt he was expecting a scout could deal that much damage from that kind of range. It's only been about 2 hours since I've made my last shortstop video, so I figured it was about time I made another one. And the shortstop is one of those weapons that's really rewarding to use. It's so tricky to aim, the spread is so tight, the optimum range is kind of further away than the usual scattergun, so you can't just run up at their face. And in order to get damage out of it, you have to hit lots of shots successively. It's got such a quick firing speed, so you have to be able to aim, and then survive while you reload. So it's quite a challenging weapon to use, but really rewarding if you pay it off. I feel like I've still got a lot to learn when it comes to the shortstop. It's a weapon that I really have to use a lot more to get better at, because I really enjoy using it, and it seems to do pretty well when I manage to not suck with it. There are those days though when you just cannot hit anything, and it's probably best to go back to the scattergun, or even the force of nature or the backscatter if you really can't aim. One of the weirder downsides of the shortstop, the knockback vulnerability, actually killing me there. I kind of wanted to delay my jump because I figured the soldier might be able to predict it, so I was kind of thinking like, okay, I'm gonna jump at the last second, so when he goes for the shooting the wall it would kill me, but turns out he just shot me anyway. I was probably overthinking things. I should have double jumped out of there as soon as I could. But yeah, the shortstop's passive stats when it's active are kind of odd. The increased health from health packs, but damage, rather knockback vulnerability, don't really seem to come into play too much. It's really good to use with, like, of course, the Mad Milk and the Candy Cane, and it's also quite useful when it comes to picking up medium health packs. But the knockback vulnerability seems really kind of pointless. I know there was a really funny situation where the Force of Nature, shooting a scout who's got the shortstop with the Force of Nature, would make him go completely flying. You could send them all the way from Badwater spawn for blue, all the way down to the second capture point with one shot if you use the bonk. It was pretty hilarious. This is one area I really love fighting with the scout. You've got so much high ground to play with, and I see this soldier's pretty much just given up because there was no way he was hitting a scout with that much height advantage. Being able to jump across different levels from different objects and props makes Scout such a fun class to play. It's probably the reason why I love TF2 so much, just the amount of creativity you have with your movement, the way you can kind of do unexpected things to juke out your enemies is probably my favourite thing about the game. Another great thing about this loadout is that you don't have to kind of worry about your medic. It's kind of a weird point, but when you've got a Kritzkrieg medic trailing around behind you, they're going to cry if you let them die, and you can't exactly get into like too tough of a situation. Whereas a scout, you can easily just bail out. A few double jumps, you're going to get out of there no problem. But if you've got a medic trailing behind you, you kind of have to play a little bit more safely. The Criticola doesn't require you to have another player with you in order to deal some decent damage, so it actually gives you a little bit more freedom in that situation. And the extra movement speed lets you get out and in of combat even faster, which is really helpful. Borneo seems like it's working pretty well as a map for the strategy. I know it works really well on defense, not so well on offense. There's a few pretty nice sentry spots that I kept getting picked off by whenever I was attacking. And even though the shortstop's really good at taking out sentries, it's still a little bit of an issue when you've got to fight pretty much constantly uphill. And you're so vulnerable with your knockback resistance with the shortstop and your damage vulnerability with the critical at the same time. So it's definitely a strategy that's better on defense, although pretty much everything's better on defense now that I think about it. So it might be a pointless distinction. One thing that's really frustrating with the shortstop is shooting people who don't know you're there, because the spread is so tight that even the slightest error can cause all the pellets to miss, which is really annoying. And if a player's sort of just dawdling about, walking forward, walking back, he's got no idea where he's going. It can be really hard to hit them. Sometimes it's easier just to pull out your bat and finish them off that way. Another important advantage that this loadout has over taking a Kritzkrieg medic with you is that your damage boost is sort of up more. The Criticola recharges pretty fast, and it's a lot easier to get than have to keep a medic alive in order to build up a Kritzkrieg, which means that you can have way more engagements and use your Criticola way more often, which means you can deal out a ton more damage. Of course, losing your pistol is really annoying. As I have said many times before, the shortstop relies on the pistol. That reload time is critically long, so having that little extra source of damage can be super important. Taking out your bat is risky, it's a pretty good option, but having the pistol is so much nicer, I've found. And looks like we're going to be wrapping things up here. This loadout is tons of fun to use. I hope you give it a try because it's certainly a blast. Just make sure you focus directly on the middle of your crosshair when you're using it. Don't look anywhere else, don't use any peripheral vision, eyes straight down the crosshair and aim for the torso. And you should do alright. And that's all I got right now. I'll see you guys next time.